Hi, my name is Erica Westman, and I'm an editor based in Toronto. I work in fiction and nonfiction, and today I wanted to just outline the three basic stages, three or four stages of editing fiction for writers, because it's a conversation that I consistently have with authors that I work with. It's a bit of a mystery often, especially with new and emerging writers, and I want to give you a quick glimpse behind the curtain about what editors do. Stage one is the structural edit, which is also known as the substantive edit. This is the first approach that your editor is likely to take with your manuscript. You've written one draft, or maybe two or three or more, and you haven't yet had anyone with a professional skill set have a look at your manuscript, and most likely you do need a structural edit. This is where your editor looks at your characters. Do they come to life on the page, or do they fall flat? Is there someone in the book who really shouldn't be there, or is there someone missing who could play an important role in moving the plot forward? Is there someone who drops off the page halfway through the book and leaving readers wondering, what happened to that guy? Is your voice and point of view well established? Does your dialogue move the story forward? And does each speaker have a voice that's distinct from other characters? We look at plot. Does it sustain momentum? Is it believable? Is it interesting? Is there a hook? Do you set up your readers' expectations in the beginning of the book and then meet those expectations to take your readers to a satisfying end? Is your description of your setting too little, too much? Does it add to the story or slow your story down? How is your chronology and pacing? Does time move too slowly or too fast? So the structural edit is about those big picture elements of your book. And don't be surprised if your editor suggests a fairly heavy rewrite at this stage. But don't be afraid. Don't shy away from that. Your editor is a friend, a colleague, a teammate who is there to help you marry your intentions as a writer with the desires of your readership. What you want is to end up with a book that readers can't put down, that they want to read to the very last page, and then buy a whole bunch more copies for their friends. And your editor can help you get to that point. Stage two is the stylistic edit, or the line edit. Once the big picture structure of your book is solid, you've got really good architecture for your story, then your editor will start to hone in on the quality of your prose. The stylistic edit is about the flow of your paragraphs and your sentences. It's about the words that you choose and how appropriate they are to get your story across. It's about your verb tenses. Are you telling your story in the past? Are you telling it in the present? Or are you mixing those things up? You do want your readers to have a sense of consistent time and place. And you can help to hone this in and craft this through the stylistic edit. You also want to look at use of passive verbs versus active verbs. Active verbs are stronger, and they'll anchor readers down into your story. And this is, in a bigger sense, what the stylistic edit is all about. It's all about allowing your readers to get lost in the story instead of having them be concerned about your language and how you put your words together. If the flow isn't right, your readers are going to fall out of the story, out of the magic of the story. I mentioned grammar, and the stylistic edit does involve some grammar, but mostly that is for the copy edit, which is stage three. I found that the stylistic edit and the copy edit often merge in the real world because independent authors and even publishers and publishing houses that are well established often don't have the funding to pay for two different edits to take care of all of these things. but I want to emphasize that the copy edit cannot be underestimated. This is where you're looking at the correctness and consistency of your spelling and grammar, your punctuation, your numeration, your capitalization, your chapter headings and paragraph formatting and styles, especially with publishers and agents. Writing is a very competitive field, and if you send them a manuscript that has a lot of spelling errors in it or grammatical mistakes, it just sends a signal that this writer is not willing to put the work in to really polish a manuscript to impress me, or they don't care enough about the quality of their writing to perfect it as much as possible. And there are going to be a lot of other writers that they can choose from who are willing to work harder. So you do want to make sure that you've got a good copy editor who's got your back for all of those details of your writing. And if you're good at spelling and grammar, you can do a lot of this work yourself, and you can save yourself a bit of money because your copy editor won't have to spend as much time on your manuscript. But it does take a trained eye to see a lot of the common errors that end up in our prose. I am going to show you the Chicago Manual of Style. If you haven't heard of this or seen this yet or had a chance to peruse the 1,000-some pages, this is the Bible for editors. It's what they use to check your copy for consistency and correctness when it comes to spelling. There's a lot of words that can get mixed up quite easily, and your spell check won't catch them. Words like its, it apostrophe s, often shows up when you should have its with no apostrophe. And there are a lot more complicated and more difficult examples of that kind of error. So those are the three main stages of the editing process: structural edit, stylistic edit, and copy edit. I could add a fourth stage to that, and that's proofreading, which is much like the copy edit in that you're looking at the correctness and consistency of your spelling and grammar, but it takes place at the very end, just before your publisher hits the print button. You'll see the proofs of your book. And if you're publishing with a traditional house, they'll probably have their own in-house editors or freelancers to check your proofs for you. But you also want to demand to look at them because this is your baby. Especially if you're publishing independently, you want to check the proofs very carefully and likely work with an editor. Maybe it's the one that did your other editing for you, or maybe it's a specialist just to look at the proofs. Either way, it's your baby that's going out into the world, and you want to make sure it comes out with 10 fingers and 10 toes. I wanted to keep this short because we all have busy lives, but I'm always happy to talk to writers about the editing process and about their writing, so please feel free to get in touch with me. I hope this has been helpful, and I wish you the best of luck on your writing journey.